State. Depending on who you ask, New Zealand or Samoa, you'll get two very different accounts on the risks posed by the sunken Navy ship, the Nanai. Samoa says 200,000 litres of diesel has leaked from the wreck, which is resting off its coast. But Defence Minister Judith Collins told Q&A over the weekend that can't be right.
Don't see that can be if that's the little trickle that we're seeing there. I mean, any oil coming out is obviously disturbing for people, but we do know that it has not gone to the beaches.
Victoria University Samoan international relations expert Nanai Iati says the only way to appease the situation is with an international inquiry. He joins us now. Morena, thank you for being with us this morning. Why do you think an international inquiry should be done?
Yeah, Morena and Talofa. Well, this is an international incident. This took place within Samoa's territorial sea. It's within their territory. If it was played out any other way and New Zealand was the victim here, then New Zealand would obviously want an independent inquiry. To put things in perspective, Samoans claim there's around 220 tonnes that's already leaked. The Rena disaster we had here in New Zealand was about 350 tonnes, and that was 12 nautical miles from shore. This is 1 nautical mile from shore. So if they're correct, this is a huge international incident and has huge implications for Samoa.
As you would have heard in the introduction, Minister Collins has said can't be right that there's such a big leak that has occurred. Samoa saying the opposite, that has happened. How would you describe the relationship between New Zealand and Samoa at the moment?
Well, it depends who you talk to. I would say it should be pretty rocky at this time. Given the litany of wrongs that New Zealand has done in Samoa, I think the last one was 2019 with the measles outbreak. And then in the first and early interviews with Minister Collins, there seemed to be a kind of a dismissive attitude towards what the Samoans were experiencing. So I wouldn't say they're on good terms at the moment.
Can we go back to that international inquiry that you're calling for? What specifically would it look at? Because we know that there's an inquiry going on here, looking into what actually happened with the ship. But in terms of this international inquiry, what would you expect to be looked at?
Well, I think the Samoan people deserve to know what the Nanai was actually doing in Samoa's territory, what kind of work they were carrying out. Then you have the environmental implications as well as the economic costs. And obviously, as you mentioned at the start of your program, there's all these different stories coming out. You couldn't get a greater disparity of versions than what Minister Collins is saying and what the Samoan authorities are saying. So the Samoan people need to get a fair hearing on this. They need to get to know what the truth is. And for New Zealand, it needs to preserve its credibility as an honest broker in the region. So for a whole host of reasons, you need an international independent inquiry. What are
the environmental impacts here? And the impacts not only on the environment, but how that actually impacts the economy in Samoa? Well,
people have to remember that subsistence fishing is one of the largest activities that Samoan people have. Most people, I think about 40% of the households in Samoa have at least one fisherman, so their livelihoods will be significantly impacted by this. But beyond that, the Pacific Islands Forum and other Pacific Island countries have obviously made human security, which includes economic, environmental security as their priority. So this really kind of is a big issue, not only for Samoa, but for the Pacific.
We had the Prime Minister on earlier today, and Daniel asked him specifically about an apology to Samoa. He said he's spoken to government officials and that he has apologised profusely. Is that enough, do you think?
Well, apologies don't actually mean much on the ground. I mean, for the average Samoan who's living particularly out in the regions that are affected, that apology is great as a first step. But, you know, some kind of economic remuneration for those people is really the next step that should be looked at. And how that's determined, I don't think it should be New Zealand that should determine that. It should be some international independent inquiry that should have a look at what the costs have been for the country.
In terms of the investigation that you'd like to see, the international investigation, how soon should that begin and why?
Well, as soon as possible, obviously. New Zealand is already in there, and I think they have every right to conduct their own investigation. But as I said, for their credibility as an honest broker, you need an international team in there straight away. There are a number of regional organizations that Samoa could turn to, and then beyond that, obviously you have the United Nations. They should get in there straight away to find out what the facts are, especially in relation to some of the earlier questions I mentioned. What exactly was the Manawanui doing? What work was it carrying out, and for what purpose?
So this international investigation would have to be called by Samoa, right?
It should be called by Samoa, but then again, like I said, for New Zealand's credibility, it'd be in New Zealand's interest to also support that kind of call, just to make sure that within the Pacific, it maintains that honest broker reputation that it's worked so hard to build.
Nanai, Iati joining us this morning. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nanai.